When you smell indifferent, you be acting different. But when you smell like everyone else, you smell familiar, and sometimes smelling familiar is not the move. Now, what's the problem with smelling familiar? Familiar can register in someone's brain as a past memory that brings them joy or happiness. Yet that Sauvage that you might be wearing might bring up memories of that weird guy in that club that they had a bad interaction with. Another example is Sintel 33 from Le Labo, which reminds everyone of an artsy male manipulator, or By the Fireplace, which is a living embodiment of someone who's a pretentious fashion man who's a fake recluse. Smelling not so mainstream is a good thing, and to be more unique with your fragrance profile helps bring out a more unique you that matches with your own personal style. But how do we find our personal identity in a smell? Now that's a question that I asked myself, so here are two ways to figure that out. Now the first thing is to look at your wardrobe, look at your style, your personal style specifically, and the colors you wear. In simple terms, you're going to try and figure out what meshes great with you in your style presentation and the colors you wear. In my personal opinion, I feel like with dark colors, like myself, I wear a lot of blacks. I feel what goes great with very dark colors is something also very smelly in the sense of moodiness. A smell that is very moody, very dark, something that isn't light or energetic smelling. Those types of fragrances tend to be very spicy, bourbon smelly, whiskey smelly, maybe some leathers. There's a lot of different notes that you can see in a lot of different types of fragrances that tend to be more dark in the way it smells. And there's also fragrances that are very light and more energetic, and it's all dependent on the notes that are in the fragrances. Now I want you to envision this. When you're walking down the street, if you ever go outside and touch grass, and you see someone wearing earth tones in this specific style, what is the first smell that comes to mind that they probably smell like? Probably woodsy, probably something very earthy, sandalwoods come to mind, stuff like that. And I think that meshes very well and is intermingled with that person's style and obviously the colors that they wear. Clothes and colors invoke emotion. I haven't made a video about this, but that is a very specific thing that does happen. And so do fragrances. Fragrances work hand in hand with clothing and color to also invoke emotion and also memories. There are some fragrances that I might smell that do smell like my own father from what I remember from childhood. And I think that's also a very interesting thing when it comes to smelling different fragrances. There are fragrances that will remind you of your ex. I'm sure we've all been there. When we walk down the street, we smell something that smells similar to one of our exes. And sometimes maybe someone new, maybe a friend of yours wears a fragrance that smells like your ex, and that's not going to be a good memory. So niching down from mainstream fragrances is the best way to do that because you're unlocking a new fragrance that someone may have never smelled before, something different. And niche fragrances tend to have notes that aren't necessarily seen very often in mainstream smells. Now, just like with your personal style and the colors you wear, that also is kind of the same thing. You might not be dressing very mainstream, you might be dressing more in a weirder way, something more different. So why not complement that with something that's more niche? I mean, it's pretty simple. Color and wardrobe, the colors that you have will kind of help you indicate what will work best for you, and obviously your style. I really do think that more vibrant color wearers of style will probably smell very energetic smelling. Now I'm gonna make this very hard on myself, but this is my opinion. These are the types of fragrances that I envision someone that wears a lot of black would wear, and then these are fragrances that someone who wears a lot of color would wear. And I like to just kind of have that in more of a black and white sort of situation. Of course, there's going to be an in-between where someone might like wearing very fruity smell, something that has more energy to it when they do wear all black, and that's totally fine. But if you're having a very hard time figuring it out, I think the best way to go about it is just to match the fragrance with your wardrobe and the colors you wear. I think it's super simple and it's very easy to understand. And from there, we can move on to your personality. Imagine your personality. If you're an energetic person, you're gonna wanna wear a fragrance that exhibits that. If you're a very low down, chill, mellow guy like myself, I'm just a regular dude, chill, I'm gonna wear something that's less energetic smelling, less fruity, less floral, less spring and summer smells, more of a winter, relaxed smell. Something more musky, bourbony. I like spices. Spicy smells are awesome. And there's a bunch of different types of fragrances that invokes that emotion of chill, you know, just a chill guy. I'm gonna post some on screen now that do exhibit that chill vibe that I think like give that chill vibe, you know what I mean? But other than that, Your personality, it's pretty simple. If you don't know your personality, tough luck. I feel bad for you, but ask your friends what they think your personality is. If you're chill, energetic, whatever that is, if you don't really know yourself, you know, send a few texts out. Hey man, what's my personality like? Or better yet, if that's too weird for you, ask your friends that are into fragrances, what type of fragrance do you think I would smell like? And from there, you can look at the notes and then try and find more niche fragrances that kind of fit within those parameters of the notes that you typically do see in pattern. Because I'm sure someone's gonna send you more than one fragrance. Unless they just send you one fragrance. If one person sends you one fragrance, another one will send you another fragrance. Look at the notes, see what's mostly the main accords in those fragrances. And then I'm sure you'll be able to kind of have an idea of what people would think you smell like. To me, having a fragrance that is very much intertwined with your personality and who you are is what makes fragrances so fun to me, because not only is your personality being showcased through you as an individual, but also the smell that you wear is going to be associated with you. I think it's so fun and interesting when you're walking around and you're in a room full of people wearing stupid Dior Sauvage or whatever. No hate, Dior Sauvage smells good. But then they take a whiff of you and you're wearing something more niche like Toscabat. And it's such a specific scent that they know it's you wearing it, especially since it's niche and not that many people have it around here, like Matcha 33 from Le Labo. You know that smell? You'll walk by, you know exactly what that smell smells like. But when you smell something that is different, that you don't smell all the time, it hits the nose in a different way, you whiff it, that's what I mean by personality, you know? Insert you, the viewer. I don't know what your name is, my fella, whatever you are. When I walk by and I'm wearing this Toscabat fragrance that I will be talking about later, people know that's me because I wear it a lot and it's like my favorite fragrance to spray on. It's something that's more personal to me and I feel like meshes really well with my personality. But with niche fragrances that have very unique scent profiles, it's going to be a memory that hasn't been unlocked yet because no one smelled that smell or it's not too common. So think about that. Now you might be asking yourself, well, I don't really know any niche fragrance companies and the friends that I do have don't know any niche fragrance companies. Or maybe they do, but I'm gonna add 4 to your list because I'm a friend to you. And I'll give you some background on what the companies do, what their whole thing is, you know, synopsis, a summary. And from this point on to this video, I'd like you to comment some niche fragrance companies for not only me to look into, but for a bunch of other people in the comment section too as well. Be a nice fella and help out the other fellas. So let's get into the first fragrance company that I really do like, and that's gonna be Fishersund. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's an Icelandic brand, which is a family-run perfumery started by 2 siblings that combine scent, sound, and art to invoke an all-encompassed moment of nostalgia, familiar to those who grew up in rural Iceland. They handcraft their perfumes in their workshop using Icelandic oils harvested in the wild, paired with environmentally friendly packaging. So the 2 fragrances that actually my friend Kay recommended me grabbing was Foltholt and Number 101. Now these 2 fragrances are very distinct with how different they are from each other. Number 101 smells more piney to me, while the Foltholt smells a little bit more fiery and spicy. And I'm pretty sure it's just because of the notes that are in it. But I would say between the 2, Foltholt is my favorite just because of how interesting and unique the smell is. And I will put the notes here so that you can take a gander, as well as Number 101. I still also really like this as well. It has a very woodsy smell to it, and I do really enjoy my wood smells when I wear green. If I ever wear green, if I ever wear color, I will put this on. But overall, these 2 fragrances, I love both of them, but Foltholt is the one that takes me to a very unique place. Now, the second perfumery that I'm going to be talking about is Toscabat, and I have currently Empty Wishes Well, which is the perfume that I've been currently using as my signature fragrance. And Toscabat is the brand born of a perfumer who believes that scents are not just chemical compounds, but instead pieces of a story. Portals to memories that can make you reminisce on old and forgotten memories. Fun fact, he chose the word Toscabat because there is literally no translation for the Romanian word in English, but maybe you can describe it with a smell. Now, if you're considering getting a Toscabat fragrance, I do definitely recommend getting the box full of samples, and that was something that I got before I decided to land on Empty Wishes Well. But it was between this and Inexcusable Evils, which is also a very interesting smell altogether, and you can see by the notes here. But as you can tell from Empty Wishes Well, the notes in this fragrance just mesh very well with me. Cannot get enough of this stuff. Now moving forward, we're going to be talking about Photogenics, which also was one of my signature fragrances before I got that Toscabat fragrance fragrance, but I still really do love putting this on occasion. Photogenics is a perfumery brand that is dedicated to harnessing the extraordinary ability of herbs and plants that can enhance your senses. Their goal is to redesign the fragrance look and experience, which is an intimate one, the thing we wear closest to our skin. We are sustainable, we are sculptural, we are bold, and we are for everybody. Now, the interesting thing about Photogenics is not only do they make fragrances, but they also do make diffusers, which I currently have one, which is the Lava Rock diffuser. But I definitely recommend checking out their other home goods that they have because it's very sculptural and really interesting, and it adds a nice touch of style to your room. And last but not least, we have Fulton & Rohrich, which is a fragrance company that aims to innovate new ways of distilling perfume without looking too historical and traditional or European ways of performing the craft. Their scents are thus inspired by iconically American monuments and experiences like Central Park, the coast of Oregon, or Highway 190 in Death Valley. Now, the fragrances that I did pick up was Devil's Garden and the Formula 5 oil. And funny enough, I'm actually wearing Devil's Garden right now as I'm creating this video. But the other thing that I do want to highlight is the fact that they make a deodorant. This by far has the best smelling scent, and I don't sweat, so it's like pretty good with antiperspirant, and I'm really enjoying how this smells on my armpits because, you know, no one wants to smell like BO. But if you ever have the opportunity to pick up a deodorant, I definitely recommend Fulton & Rohrich's deodorant. They're just amazing and the smells are great. I definitely want to try out the Central Park one if there's even a possibility of me going back and getting another one, but we'll definitely have to see. So today we are going to go to a cobbler so I can get my shoes cobbled. More importantly, my pair of monkey boots from Yoshi, the sole like separated. So I kind of need to get that cobbled back on. I was gonna throw a lug saw on that, but I just decided to keep it at the original design overall. Then I'm also gonna get my guides cobbled. I just don't really like how I don't like how low the sole is, so I'm gonna get these lugs soled, and I think it'll look a lot better. Today we are going to go pick up my shoes from the cobbler. Today's fit. Pretty cool. Now, if you choose not to wear any fragrances, that's totally fine. I don't think fragrances are a end-all be-all sort of thing, but it's definitely a hobby, an extension of more money you can spend if you choose to. You know, like, for example, accessories. You don't necessarily need to be wearing chains and stuff to exhibit pure style, but it definitely adds and it helps accent overall with the type of person that's wearing it. You know, having cool jewelry on, having cool rings on helps kind of, you know, bring outfits together a little bit more and helps maybe bring a little bit more of a personal touch to it. And I think fragrances are so unique when you get down to the very niche fragrances where you're stepping away from the mainstream types of smells that we typically do smell. It might bring a new memory to someone that might smell you. And it's more, since it's more curated to the individual, since it's so niche and it's like a new smell, they'll kind of associate you with that smell. And I think that's such an interesting thing about smells that we don't typically get with maybe even the way you dress, because obviously I dress very specific for my genre, and I think most of the time people just think that I just dress like some Yoji dude off the street. But once we introduce a fragrance of mine, which I'm going to talk about, like Toskava, Empty Wish as well, and you smell this off me, it's a very specific scent. And the only thing that people will think if they first met me and I'm wearing this smell, and I wear it often because it's like my signature fragrance now, people are gonna think, that's JQ, that smells like JQ, that's associated with me. And I think that creates a more interesting association when it comes to smells, and besides visual sense of how I look, that smell, if I was in a room with a bunch of people wearing Dior Sauvage and this is just, for some reason, the fragrance notes hits their nose once they're like walking past and they smell this, they know it's me. And I think that's something so unique you don't really get with being able to wear clothes, right? Visually, we can't see people all the time in crowds, but we can smell stuff. And if I walk past somebody and they just immediately hit that note of that smell, they know it's me. And I think it's such a cool way to kind of create some more individualisticness with what we do. But that's going to end it for this video. I appreciate you sitting there and listening to me talk about different fragrances and my ideologies about fragrances in general. If you have any thoughts or philosophies, leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to listen to your thoughts. And thank you for the Patreon for supporting some of these videos and listening to my podcasts. If you ever feel the need to listen to me talk more, either watch me on stream or watch my podcast on Patreon and support me there. So I definitely recommend checking out those 4 companies if you can or ever have a chance, and whatever seems more alluring to you, go check them out. And with that closes this video off, so cue the music.
You know, I haven't been here that long, but I've fallen in love with the place a little bit. Sad to see you go.
What's up, guys? We're here at Lisbon Street, right by Williamsburg Bridge, right by Tadaki. We're just gonna have an awesome day today. Vibes are high, moving boxes. It's very epic.
I don't even know how to drive.
I'm just winging it. Figuring it out.
You guts, dude. If you just spin the wheel and the car goes in that direction, it's not that hard.
I agree. Like, I grew up thinking that driving was so easy, and it is. Like, it's not that hard. You just have a go. You have a go and a stop, and then you just turn the wheel. It's not that hard. I don't know how people don't understand how to drive.